I ran into my high school sweetheart tonight at my 10-year reunion. The one I married? Names are made up for anonymity. I met Stacy, my wife, when I was in the 6th grade. We started officially dating in 8th grade, and we dated all through high school. Then just after graduation, she broke my heart. She wanted to go to college to find herself. I knew what that meant. I was taken completely by surprise, but she made it clear there was nothing I could do or say to change her mind. And believe me, I tried. More than I'd like to admit. So just like that, it was over. I went to a college close to our hometown, and she went to a college that was across the country in California. Selfishly, I told her we couldn't be friends when we broke up, as I knew that would help me to move on faster. Remaining friends would have kept the sense of hope alive, stringing me along. Over the next 2 years, I didn't hear from her at all. At one point, I did hear that her mother passed away. Her father passed when she was young, but I never really found a good way to reach out. I went about my life, coasting through college, with a couple of short-term relationships here and there, but nothing serious. I assumed she did the same. Then, one night I went to a local bar with a few of my friends, and there she was. I was too embarrassed to admit it, but I didn't actually recognize her at first. It had only been 2 years, but her hair was now short, and I already had a few drinks in me at that point. It was only after she made her way across the bar to hug me that I fully comprehended who she was. My friends and I would always joke that this bar was like a high school reunion every time we went there. It was the only decent bar in the area, so everyone went there. This time was no exception. It struck me as odd that she was back in town mid-semester, as this seemed like a strange time to fly across the country to visit home. But we got to talking, and after a few drinks, I thought nothing of it. We really hit it off that night. It was like she had never been gone, the feeling I had when I was with her. I joked about how she left me behind when she went off to college, hoping to ease any concern about whether I was upset, but she completely brushed it off. A little later, I brought up a story about a time when we were in the 9th grade, and my mother dropped us off at a movie theater for a date. I could see the confusion on her face. She quickly explained that she had been in an accident her first year of college, and that she lost bits and pieces of her memory. The way she described it was that she basically couldn't remember some of the specific memories from her childhood, but she could remember faces and who people were. It sounded terrible, and I didn't want to prod too much, so I dropped it. After that night, we hung out again soon after. And then again. We picked up right where we had left off in high school. A few weeks passed, and she eventually told me she wasn't going back to school in California. She wanted to stay here, which was great. Things progressed, and we eventually got married after I graduated. Things were so great. Years rolled by, we had 2 kids. She was a stay-at-home mom, and was so good with the kids. There were some ups and downs over the years, but things were generally pretty good. And then I got an invitation to our 10-year high school reunion about a month ago. I thought about not going, but after some convincing from my friends at work, I decided to go. Stacy had also planned to come, but we ended up getting into a ridiculous argument tonight beforehand, so she stayed behind. I don't quite know how to explain what happened tonight at the reunion. I'm still processing it. It seemed like it was going to be a pretty tame night. There were only about 40 of us that went, but then somebody tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around and I immediately felt what I can only describe as dread in the pit of my stomach. I couldn't quite comprehend what I was seeing. She looked so familiar. I knew exactly who she was, but my mind was having a hard time processing it. It was Stacy. The Stacy I dated in high school, the Stacy that dumped me after we graduated. She looked exactly as I'd expect, just grown up. But she didn't look like my Stacy. This wasn't the Stacy I married. This wasn't the Stacy that was back at home. Stacy. OMG, Steve. I can't believe it's been 10 years. How are you? Tell me about your life. You just kind of fell off the map. What happened? Me, still feeling confused. I'm great. I'm married now, with 2 kids. How about yourself? Stacy, I'm doing well. I fell in love with California during school and decided it was where I was meant to live. This is actually the first time I've been back since my mom passed 9 years ago. There really hasn't been any reason for me to come back since, until now. I ended the conversation there and immediately left. I'm now sitting outside my home in my car. The lights are off. I don't know who it is that I married, who I had kids with. But it is not Stacy, because that was definitely Stacy at the reunion. What is happening? I'm trying to piece this all together, but it is just too much. I don't think I can go in there. I fell asleep in my car Thursday night after my first post. I was pretty shaken up. When I woke up Friday morning, yesterday, I had dozens of missed calls and texts. A vast majority of them were from Stacy, and she was not happy. She saw me asleep in my car in the morning when she left to take the kids to school. She thought I was drunk from the reunion and fell asleep in the car. I feel like I really dodged a bullet there, as it bought me a little more time to think clearly before addressing this head-on. I know a lot of you recommended I bring it to light immediately, but I need to investigate and come up with a game plan. There was one text in particular that caught my attention. It was from a number I didn't recognize. Number: "Why did you run off so fast last night? There's something I need to talk to you about, and it's important. Can we talk?" I didn't respond. I'm feeling like I need to be very careful with what I do next. Anyway, I got my shit together and went to work Friday, yesterday, but obviously got nothing done. The only reason I actually went is because I thought the normalcy would help to preserve my sanity throughout the shitstorm I was about to endure. I called a couple of my friends that were at the reunion. There aren't many that I'm actually friends with. I nonchalantly asked if they saw Stacy, being careful not to specify which Stacy. Nobody saw her. They asked if we were having issues at home and why I wouldn't have known if my wife was there, who was watching the kids, etc. So that was no help. As kind of an aside, it sounds like there was a bit of commotion at the reunion around somebody that showed up that wasn't on the original guest list. In fact, her name wasn't listed in the yearbook either when they checked. Her name was Beth, FYI. I switched this name too for anonymity. She insisted that she had graduated with our class, so they let her in and didn't put up too much of a fight, especially because so few people from our class actually showed up. Doesn't sound like she hung around long though. The calls and texts continued to roll in from my wife Stacy throughout the day, and I ignored them. I realized I had 3 options. A. Bail. This would mean leaving my kids behind. Obviously not really an option at all, as I don't think there is such a thing as life for me without my kids. B. Confront her in some way. Share what I'm going through. Explain everything. C. Play it all off until I can gather more info to make a solid decision. I'm going with C. If I don't rock the boat, I'll be able to coast a little longer without any permanent impact on my life. That is unless my wife has knowledge beyond what I know or has plans to kill me. If she's logical in any way still, I don't think this is a real threat. If it is, then I have to give her kudos because she has moved mountains and stars have aligned to pull this thing off. Since I'm rolling with the path of least resistance, I decided it would be best to go with the story that she already believed to be true. This would mean telling her that I drank too much at the reunion. One drink led to several. I drove home like an asshole, and I fell asleep in my car. We all know that this is not what happened, and I don't condone drinking and driving, but it seemed like it was easier to go with this than it would be to make up another story and sell her on it. When I got home, she had dinner ready, like she normally does. She and I spoke briefly about everything in private, and I confirmed what happened the night before, why I was in the car. She was disappointed. I pretended to be ashamed and embarrassed. All was okay-ish. When we sat down for dinner with the kids, she asked me a little more about the actual reunion. I played it cool and told the story exactly as it happened. Everything up until the piece where Stacy tapped me on the shoulder at the reunion. It'll be much easier to keep all of this straight if I keep it as close to the truth as possible. I have no idea what she knows. I have no idea if there are others involved or what. So I want to minimize the opportunities for getting caught in a lie. I'm getting the impression that she doesn't really think anything is up. I'm pretty good at staying cool under pressure. However, I am a bit nervous. Based on her responses and body language, I suspect that she probably wrote it off in her own mind as a result of the drinking and driving incident. That is me feeling ashamed, embarrassed. This is good. Things are kind of coasting along, and it feels like I can ride this out and keep digging as long as I'm careful. I went to bed shortly after dinner. I obviously didn't sleep well in the car, and things were still a bit hazy, so I felt like this was best. This brings us to today. So, I woke up this morning and felt pretty good about everything. I feel normal. If I wanted, I could legitimately pretend like I never saw Stacy at the reunion, and I think life would continue on as it did beforehand. At least, that's the vibe I'm getting from everyone around me. Nobody close to me is really asking weird questions. That said, I'm going to dig because I want to know more. I went ahead and finally responded to that text this morning. Number, why did you run off so fast last night? There's something I need to talk to you about, and it's important. Can we talk? Me, hey, what do you mean? Who is this? I figured it would be better to play dumb and fish for information before divulging anything that could be potentially damaging to my situation. I'm still waiting on the reply now. I have no idea what happens from here. If they don't respond, maybe I just go back to living life the way I was and forget any of this ever happened. Things are progressing, but slowly. With each new stone that I turn, I'm learning new details, each a bit more unnerving than the last. In all honesty, I'm beginning to question my own sanity. Maybe I am delusional like many of you suspect. At this point, I couldn't tell you one way or another. What I do know is that even if I am delusional, this is real to me. This is my reality. It's how I am perceiving it. And there is no alternative for me but to face it. So, I'll continue to do just that. So, Beth, I started looking into her a little more yesterday, per your recommendations. I asked a few people about the commotion from the reunion. It led to plenty of dead ends. This person heard it from someone else, who heard it from someone else, etc. Clearly, it wasn't as big a deal as I had originally thought. It was a reunion at a bar. Based on what I've heard, she wasn't the only non-reunioner wandering around. And the guest list was a joke. Anyway, Jake is the only one that specifically remembers seeing Beth at the reunion. Jake is on the reunion committee. He didn't come to our high school until senior year, so no idea how he got stuck coordinating the reunion. Anyway, he said she only stayed 15 minutes, and he did not recognize her. He insists that he saw me talking to her. So much for his credibility. He was probably drunk. On another note, I finally heard back from the number yesterday afternoon after being left in suspense for a little over a day. Number, why did you run off so fast last night? There's something I need to talk to you about, and it's important. Can we talk? Me, hey, what do you mean? Who is this? Number, I should have never left you behind. The woman you are married to is not who you think she is. There's something you need to see. Me, Stacy? Number, we went to a movie in 9th grade. You tried to kiss me, and I sneezed. Remember where I was sitting? Go there and reach under the seat. Text me when you have it. Number, Steve. Make sure you delete these messages. I knew exactly what seat she was talking about. This was one of my favorite stories from when we were younger. Or from when my wife and I were younger? My wife doesn't even remember any of this, and she lived it. How could this person know about it? I went right to the theater. Logical me says this was probably a bad idea. It could be a trap, I know that, but I went anyway, regardless. It was closed by the time I got there. It would have to wait until Monday, so I headed home for the night. Have you ever had one of those dreams where you knew you were dreaming, so you intentionally steered yourself toward danger? Just to see what would happen, you ran toward the serial killer, or you swam deeper into the water, away from the surface. I feel like I'm living one of those dreams. As the days progress, this is starting to take a toll on me. Stacy is taking notice. I need to wrap this thing up. I'm not eating much. I'm feeling somewhat detached. I don't sleep much anymore. Affection is non-existent. I barely talk to my wife. My wife? I took a sleeping pill last night and went to bed pretty early. This morning, my plan was to bail from work a little after lunch to catch a movie and get whatever was under that seat. I went to work, went through the motions. 1 o'clock rolled around and I headed right to the theater. I was starting to feel a bit nervous now that it was time to actually go through with it. Now that I've had more time to think through some of the possible outcomes. I scoped it out, grabbed my movie ticket, and got into the theater way early. Luckily, nobody was there yet. I hadn't been there in years. The theater was clearly updated quite a bit. I went to the same general area where we had sat over a decade ago. I felt around under a couple seats, and I found it. It was an envelope. This was exhilarating, like a scavenger hunt. I couldn't believe I found it so easily. Part of me wondered if she was watching me at that moment. I felt like she was. Maybe it was just nerves. I couldn't see anyone else in there. I didn't even consider staying for the movie after finding it. Instead, I headed to my car to tear into the envelope. Confidential homicide investigation notes? Jesus. I uploaded the contents for you to see, Imgur. I'm assuming it'll be pulled down sooner than later. Take a look while you can. I don't know what to make of any of this. This is the first time I've actually begun to feel like my family could be in real danger. I'm in possession of a confidential document, sent by someone that I'm not even sure I know. I'm obviously not going to text the number back right now. I need to keep looking into this. There's definitely nothing identifiable in this doc, as most dates and names seem to be redacted. I did some research and found absolutely nothing online to corroborate any of this either. For all I know, it could be fake. I'm not sure what I expected to find, but I need something. Anything. I was a freshman in college in 2009 when this appears to have happened. The story itself doesn't sound even vaguely familiar. It's obviously confidential, so I wouldn't expect to have heard about it in the media, but it isn't even anything I heard through the grapevine. I'm going to put more time into researching and connecting dots. I guess I'll probably text the number at some point. I'll let you know when I do. Update. 2:54 a.m. I cannot find the note. The note is not where I left it. I haven't been able to sleep much, so I got out of bed to start looking into this more. Last night before bed, I tucked the note inside of my work things, and it is no longer there. She knows I have to leave. A lot has happened over the past couple of days. The local police will be on their way here shortly. They said they were going to prep and deploy a team. I explained the full story to them over the phone, and they took a statement. This is sort of strange, but I got the impression that they were expecting my call. They asked all the right questions and didn't seem all that surprised. Since this isn't exactly an emergency, that is crime in progress, I should have a bit of time to share the details. I cannot tell you how relieved I am that they're taking this seriously. I should have involved them sooner. I'm typing as fast as I can here. I'll hurry and explain the events that lead up to now. After my last update at 3 a.m. the other morning, I was planning to take the kids and get out as quickly as possible. Without hesitating, I went straight for their room to grab them. They share a room. But they weren't there. How could that be? I panicked, and by this point I was running room to room. I went back to mine and Stacy's room to check if Stacy was still there. She too was gone. The kids were gone. Stacy was gone. Everybody was gone. This was looking really bad. I should have taken them sooner. Why didn't I take them and go as soon as I read the document? She must have already been gone by the time I got up at 3 a.m. to look for the note. Did she ever even come to bed that night? How did I not notice? I decided it would be safest for me to leave and spend the rest of the night in a hotel. I parked my car across the street in a small shopping plaza and walked across to the hotel. I hoped that would give me a bit of cover if she went looking for my car. I texted the number back the next morning. Me, I found the document and I read it. Number, that was my mother and I. Number, take the kids, get out now. If your wife suspects anything, things are going to get bad. Me, Stacy took them. I don't know where they went. Number, what? Me, I found the envelope on Monday. Stacy must have found it when I was asleep and took off. Number, I told you to text me immediately once you had it. Number, this is really bad. I need you to meet me now. There's a dirt road behind the theater, left side. Drive down it and I'll be there waiting. I met with her and we talked. I'm positive she is the real Stacy. This was when I decided it was time to involve the police. I need to find my kids. Stacy explained everything in person. She had a stalker in college, in California. The report from my previous post was in fact about her and her mother. Her mother was killed in the accident, but she survived. She was seriously injured though. After the accident, she was put into the witness protection program. Her new identity was Beth. She had a new life and she was living somewhere completely under the radar. Things were going well. She was happy. Or as happy as she could be, given the circumstances. She was even on Facebook, though she wasn't using her real name, nor was she using a real picture. And of course, nobody knew it was actually her. She eventually became friends with several old classmates, so she could stay somewhat in the loop on how everybody's lives were turning out. She said she was living vicariously through classmates who were dumb enough to accept a friend request from someone they didn't even know. It was a guilty pleasure. This was obviously against the rules of the Witness Protection Program, but she figured it was harmless as long as she just observed and always used fake information. As our 10-year reunion approached, she saw a Facebook group created for our class that several prior classmates were joining. In a moment of weakness, or stupidity, she said she broke down and sent a friend request to me after seeing that I was in the group. Up until then, she made it a point to never look me up for her safety and for mine. Anyway, I guess I was one of the people dumb enough to add someone I didn't know. She checked out my profile and was completely dumbfounded when she saw that I was married to her. That was when she knew she had no choice but to get in contact with me, even if it meant risking her own life and breaking every rule in the book when it came to the program. She had to do it soon, and it had to be in person. The reunion seemed like the perfect time and place. Anyway, the reality is, she doesn't know who my wife is, and neither do I at this point. Nor do we know why she is doing this. Stacy suspects that it may be the same person that stalked her Tilda 10 years ago, which is absolutely terrifying to me. How could I not notice? Did my actual memories of Stacy fade, only to be replaced with the memories of someone else, whom I was convinced was Stacy, making all of this possible? Side note, I just got a text from Stacy as I was typing this. Number: Steven, I forgot to tell you one last piece. I'm outside the hotel you're staying at. Come outside for a sec, and I'll explain. Me: how did you know where I was staying? Jesus, what is happening? It's the police. They are banging on the door. But I'm the one that called them. This is crazy. Not sure what's going on. It has to be a misunderstanding. Posting this now, just in case. Asterisk asterisk update. Asterisk asterisk. Hello, Reddit. This is Andrea, or as you probably know me, Stacy, Steven's wife. I've been following along myself. Gripping story, huh? That's all it'll ever be. A story. Steven was the love of my life. We dated as freshmen in college, and I would have done anything for him. Even after Stacy was long gone and off in California, not thinking about him, he still talked about her. I knew I'd never have him to myself. She left him. She didn't want him. I was there for him. It wasn't fair. He eventually broke up with me because he missed Stacy. He wanted to be with her. She didn't even realize, nor did she care. So, I did what any reasonable person would do in that situation. I became Stacy. You have no idea how easy it was. I found Stacy on Facebook. I went to California and I watched her every move. I laughed like she did. I talked like she did. I smelled like she did. After finally mastering all that was Stacy, I knew that still wouldn't be enough. I went further. With the right documents, a pretty smile, a bit of cash, and 19 times under the knife, I could have whatever my heart's desire. America the Beautiful. The procedures were grueling, but in the end, God was it worth it. I digress. Back to today's events. His laptop was open, so I went ahead and took the liberty of picking up where he left off. I had to finish the story so you wouldn't be left wondering what happened. That is, had the story not all been a delusion. When I left the house that night after finding the note, I immediately contacted the local police. I have indeed been lurking, so I told the story just like he told it. I showed them pictures of us, dating all of the way back to our high school years. Even I'm surprised how easy it was to sell his delusions as his concerned wife. To them, his schizophrenia diagnosis was apparent. We see it all the time, they said. The story was incredulous. He was clearly a threat to me and to our children. I told them he would be calling, and I was right. All I had to do was set the stage. As for Stacy, Beth, well, unlike the first time she went into hiding, this time she won't be seen again. Steven is gone. I had him 304D, involuntarily committed to a mental facility. Serves him right for choosing Stacy over me a second time. Either way, he'll now get the treatment he so desperately needs and deserves. Only the best for my Steven. Alright, that's it. Thank you guys for watching and subscribe for more. We will see us again tomorrow. Until then, have a great day, night, or whatever you currently have. Don't forget to leave a comment and share your thoughts. Love y'all.